What's up, Mac Nostalgia? Dave here with a review of Your Friends and Neighbors, the new crime drama dark comedy series from Apple TV Plus starring Jon Hamm. This series is very notable because it's Jon Hamm's first lead role on a television series since the conclusion of Mad Men. Of course, Mad Men needs no introduction, one of the great series of all time. Jon Hamm's performance as Don Draper, one of the great TV performances, leading performances of all time as well. People know this. And since then, that series ended in 2015. It's been about 10 years since Hamm led a show. He's been on TV recently, of course, supporting roles, usually antagonist roles. The most recent season of Fargo, Landman, taking like side movie parts as well and stuff like Top Gun Maverick. So Hamm's been around, of course, but this is pretty exciting to have all of Hamm's talents in terms of the charisma machine that he is on full display as the lead of a show. And with Your Friends and Neighbors, he is very much occupying every single frame of this series, this lead character, Coop. And Your Friends and Neighbors is coming from Jonathan Tropper, which is, I think, a exciting creator, rising creator. He's created two successful TV series to this point, of course, Banshee and Warrior, both critical hits, and was also an experienced, steady hand on the movie side of things in terms of doing screenplay work. So that combined with Apple, of course, sparing no expense. Apple, as we know, loves to have stars on their shows, and I'm sure they leapt at the chance to have the Jon Hamm comeback series. The core premise of Apple's Your Friends and Neighbors is prime material for Jon Hamm's return to leading man status on television 10 years since Mad Men ended. Hamm plays Coop, this New York hedge fund manager, loses his job after already becoming divorced and finding himself financially very over leveraged. And as a result, Hamm's character Coop decides to commit continuous bits of petty theft from his very wealthy friends and neighbors. That's really pulpy material, and the series starts off in, I think, a great note in terms of its pace. How this show chooses to juggle Coop's crimes versus all of Coop's personal life, family problems, I think will be the key judgment of how this series truly succeeds, because it introduces a lot of threads and a lot of side characters. We're getting a lot of inner monologue and narration. Of course, it already opened in media res before flashing this back. There's a lot of structure and presentation, and I just hope it gets to execute well, because I think the central premise and Hamm's performance is very appealing thus far. Also starring on the show is Amanda Peet as Coop's now divorced wife. Great to see her on television. I'm also very excited to see Olivia Munn return to a significant role on TV. Munn plays a recently divorced, wealthy friend within Coop's social circle, and they start having an affair because they're both, split up from their spouses. Great to see Olivia Munn on TV again, because she had a lot of health problems recently. So glad to have her back. Throwback to HBO. I loved her as Sloane Sabbath on the Newsroom way back in the day. It's kind of been a minute though since she's had like a signature role, really. And I think, frankly, like, what even is her biggest role since like being part of the ensemble in Shane Black's The Predator back in 2018? Like, what has happened since then? I don't even remember. So awesome to see Olivia Munn. Thought she was great in the early part of this season. So hoping that continues. I'm actually liking a lot of the wealth social status stuff, as Coop still tries to keep up appearances with all his very wealthy friends in their private neighborhoods and their fancy cars and their staff and maids and stuff at home. Like, it's presenting like uber wealth, like Long Island, like very very lavish, right? And we're gonna get to see a lot of that close up as Coop sneaks into people's houses and steals their shit so that he can pawn it off in the Bronx. And I'll be curious how sloppy he ends up getting. We know things are going to go wrong. On the other hand, this show is clearly positioned as an ongoing series. It was renewed for season 2 before season 1 even premiered, which is a great sign for Apple's confidence in the show's quality. But I'll be really curious to see how this show is able to keep everything straight versus we hope this doesn't kind of devolve into nonsense the way the morning show on Apple did. But I have no reason to expect that to happen, to be clear. I think the show has started off on a really good foot. It just has a lot to manage, I think, right now. There's a lot of threats. And I think Hamm is up to the task. Again, as we know, his charisma, his presence, the way he carries himself as a handsome man, that is all very much within his performance and always imbued in his characters. And I think it's all been really good thus far. And I think the only thing that like I maybe brush up against is like this is clearly like supposed to be like a throwback difficult man show, a la Mad Men, of course, right? And we haven't gotten as many of those in recent years as we did back in the golden age of television. So what will will they allow Ham's character to be villainous, or will they have him like couch everything with his inner monologue? And will he always be presented as, oh no, he's actually really a good guy, even though he clearly doesn't seem like the best of guys after all of his circumstances, right? So I'll be curious, like how well the show commits to making Ham an anti-hero versus someone who's just a straight up good guy in the eyes of the show. We'll find out. Too early to say. But yeah, I like the show. I thought it was really appealing, really fast paced. Like I thought those first episodes really breezed by, despite how jam packed they were. So I'm up on the show. I'm really excited for it, and I hope it keeps the momentum going. But yeah, let me know what you think of Your Friends and Neighbors. What are you most looking forward to seeing in Jon Hamm's return to TV? Let me know. And for more TV reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.